All right, let's dive into something that is absolutely changing the game for real estate in Mexico. We're talking about a regulation called NOM 247. And believe me, it's all about building a whole new level of trust in the market.
So let me ask you something straight up. Are you involved in selling or marketing residential homes in Mexico? Maybe you're a developer, a builder, or a real estate advisor. If so, this is for you.
And if you answered yes to that question, then you really need to lean in for this. Because this new standard, well, it isn't a friendly suggestion, it's 100% mandatory. Getting this right is totally crucial if you want to operate legally and, frankly, successfully.
So, what is this new standard, really? You can think of NOM 24/7 as the new gold standard for professionalism and transparency. It's here to make the whole home buying process way safer and way more reliable for every single person involved.
Okay, here's the official language. It's the Norma Oficial Mexicana NOM 247 SE 2021. And what it does is regulate commercial practices, all your advertising, and the contracts for residential properties. To put it simply, it's the new rule book for selling homes.
Now, this isn't exactly brand new, but enforcement is seriously picking up steam. It was officially published back in March 2022, and it became the law of the land that September. So, compliance isn't some future goal. It's a right-now requirement.
And when you boil it all down, the mission here is actually pretty simple but really powerful. This whole thing is built to do two key things: protect the consumer's rights and guarantee total transparency through the entire process. It's all about building trust.
And just so there is absolutely no confusion about who needs to follow these rules, it applies to developers, builders, promoters, real estate advisors. Look, it's basically anyone and everyone who has a hand in selling homes. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Okay, so to really get a handle on your obligations as a seller, we actually need to look at this from the other side of the deal first. You have to understand what this standard guarantees for the buyer.
What this regulation really does is it creates a level playing field. It gives the buyer certainty and confidence in what is, let's face it, probably the biggest investment they'll ever make. And that confidence, that ultimately helps the whole market.
The law actually creates what you could call a consumer bill of rights. This means you, as the seller, have to guarantee four key things. First, buyers can freely pick their own notary. Second, their personal info is protected with a privacy notice. Third, delivery dates and conditions have to be crystal clear. And finally, there have to be established warranties if you don't hold up your end of the bargain.
All right, so you know what the buyer's rights are. Now let's flip the coin and talk about your specific duties as a seller. This is your new playbook for every single transaction you make. Complying with this really comes down to three major steps. 1, your advertising has to be totally transparent. 2, you have to use these specific types of contracts that are registered with Profeco. And 3, all your key documentation has to be available for the buyer to see anytime.
Let's really dig into that first pillar because it's the one everyone sees. Every single piece of info you put out there, every ad, every social media post, every little brochure, it has to be truthful, it has to be verifiable, and it has to be perfectly clear. No fuzzy language, no hiding things in the fine print.
So what does that mean in practice? Well, for any ad, you have to list the total price in Mexican pesos, you have to say what payment methods you accept, you've got to include precise details like the location and dimensions, provide a privacy notice, and, this one's a big one, you have to display the Profeco registration number for your contract.
But it's not just about what's in your ads. You've got to have your paperwork ready to go too. You must have the structural, architectural, and installation plans on hand for the buyer to review. And if for some reason you don't have those, you need a formal report on the building's structural condition signed off by a qualified expert or what's known as a DRO.
Okay, so we've covered what you have to do. Now let's talk about what happens if you just ignore all of this. Because the risk of not complying is huge, and it's a lot more than just a slap on the wrist.
Here's the bottom line. If you don't comply with NOM 247, your entire operation is on shaky legal ground. Your sales could be challenged, your contracts could be voided. It basically jeopardizes your whole business.
And to really understand just how serious the government is about this stuff, we can look at the penalties from a related law, the Anti-Money Laundering Act, or LFPRORP. It gives us a pretty good idea of how strong their enforcement arm can be.
Just take a look at that number. Under the anti-money laundering law, non-compliance can lead to fines of up to 65,000 times the UMA, which is the government's unit for calculating fines. We are talking about penalties that can easily run into the millions of pesos.
Now, I want to be super clear here. This specific fine is from a different law, the LFPIORP. We're using it as an example to illustrate just how severe the financial consequences can be when you don't comply with regulations in this sector. The message is clear. The government is not playing around.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to really think about. Go look at your website, your latest social media campaign, that brochure sitting on your desk. Is your advertising truly compliant with this standard? Because making sure the answer is yes should probably be your top priority right now.